when you realize the thing that you're supposed to do, it's like, it's bittersweet. Because on one hand, you're like, damn, I can't hide anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't hide behind this desk. It's like, and it's sweet because you're like, wait, this is the thing that I know I'm supposed to be doing. This is my purpose. And that brings me joy. That gives me life. Now I got to figure out how to do that all day.
You are listening to The Escape Artist, the podcast that helps you to decide if, when, and how to quit your safe corporate career and discover your true calling in life. In each episode, I interview guests who have made that often terrifying, but usually liberating leap.
COVID-19 just go away. Leave us alone.
The first death from coronavirus here in the United States.
Disease was now thought patients and staff now being tested.
Of the state's population by May.
Disease with no COVID-19. New Zealand and Australia are closing their borders to non-resident Indian citizens to protect their nations.
More than 10,000 people.
In the times of the corona crisis, that intro you just listened to, it doesn't really feel right anymore. To give you some context, in the last 10 months, I've been interviewing guests who have left their corporate careers to find their passion. Actors, boxing gym owners, entrepreneurs, you name it. Is now the right time to be thinking about leaving our corporate jobs and finding meaning in what we do? Most of us that are still employed are probably very happy that this is still the case. But you know what? For some, it actually might be. This can be a time for reflection, an opportunity to figure out what we really want to do in our lives. But also, right now, the rosy and romantic times of being an entrepreneur, they're over for a while. And this is why I will release a bonus episode for each guest. I will cover how they're dealing with the harsh reality of being alone in this time of crisis, how they're covering costs, the actions they're taking to survive, their hopes and their fears in times of corona. So let's get started. Reese, welcome to the show. Amazing to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I want to talk with you about you're the founder of the first boxing gym in New York City.
The first women's boxing gym.
The first women's.
Yes.
That's the important notion, exactly.
Yes.
But you actually started in publishing. You were creative 19 years, as a matter of fact.
Yes, so you did your homework, yes.
I did my homework. It's a different career. And one day you walked into a boxing gym. Mm-hmm. And I want to understand, what was going on in your life at the time?
At the time when I walked into the gym, I was in a place in my life where I felt very stuck. I had this awesome job. I was a creative director. I worked in publishing. I was on everybody's list. It was that type of job. I made a lot of money, but I felt like there was something missing. It's like when you do the same thing, like day in and day out, like year after year, you're like, okay, wait. You start asking yourself, if you aren't being fed by it anymore, you start asking yourself, okay, well, what's next? Because I'm hungry for something else, but I don't know what that is. Working in, corporate, working at a desk, I didn't even realize I was up to 220 pounds.
220 pounds?
220.
That's about, 99 kilograms or metric? Yeah. Or like slightly over 100, I think.
I was an artist, okay? Yeah. Math wasn't my thing. But yes, I was very heavy and I was very unhealthy. And mentally and physically. And that day that I kind of walked into that boxing gym, it was one of those days in the office where I just had to get out of there. Like, I just felt like, the walls were closing in, like my colleagues, like it was just a lot of noise. And it was a really, really just heavy day. And I just felt like I needed to just get out. So I went for a walk. And it was during my lunch hour. And I felt like I was searching for something, and I'm just like, okay, everything for a reason. People meet for a reason. I'm in this place right now in this moment for a reason. So I took a walk and, I'm walking around just trying to calm myself down and breathe and just, figure out like, what am I going to do, And I was walking. This was just a few blocks from my office. And I look up and there's a sign for a boxing gym. And I stopped and I'm like, okay, I could hear the sounds. Like I could hear, bah, bah, bah.
Yeah.
I could hear the gloves on the bags and, I could hear a couple of grunts and I'm like, okay, I don't know. Like, let me just go up and see what it's about. Like, why not? Who cares? Like, I'm depressed. I hate my job. I hate everybody. Like, let me go see what it's about.
You were like, let me punch somebody.
Well, I mean, that came later. Like, once I joined, like, that definitely came later. But it was definitely like, let me find something that makes me feel alive. Because right now I'm completely numb to my life, and I don't like how that feels. You know, I don't feel like I'm living, you know? So when I walked in, I just froze. I just froze because I noticed there were no women in the gym.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I wasn't supposed to walk in here. You know, that was like the first thought, like, oh, this isn't for me. But I stood in the door, and the woman who actually managed the gym at the time, it was her husband's place, she was off to the side, and she just kind of snapped me out of my trance with, you're fat and you're here, so you may as well sign up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she really say that to you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, she did.
That's very...
Yes.
Wow, direct.
And she, yeah, I mean, that was my intro to boxing. So it was like, okay, wait. So it took me a minute to get out of my feelings about what she said, and to kind of remove my ego from it all. And I said, you know what? She's right. I'm here. I'm going to give it 30 days. I'm going to sign up and see. I'm just going to see what happens. Like, what's the worst that could happen in 30 days, you know? So I signed up. And, you know, she's like, you know, this trainer you're going to be working with, you know, just do what he tells you to do, and just put your stuff over there. I'm like, okay.
Do you have actually gym gear with you at the
No,
time?
I told her, I was like, I'll be back later. Because I knew going back to the office, I needed something to look forward to. Like, I was terrified, but I committed to it. I said, I committed to 30 days. I'm committed to myself to just explore things, to just find something that makes me feel alive. So I knew, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to the office. I'll go buy some clothes, whatever, who cares? And I'm going to go to the gym. I'm not going to go straight home and eat and do what I do and be depressed and sit in the dark. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to leave the office and I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going back. So when I went back, the guy who she introduced me to, he just looked at me like, oh.
I can imagine,
like,
actually, yeah.
She came back.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm here. I said, so, you know, I'm ready. And he looked at me and he said, get your fat ass over there on the treadmill. And I'm like, man, this boxing is tough, man. Like, and I said, okay, I guess that's how they do it around here. So, I mean, keep in mind, it's like I worked in corporate. Like, you know, professionalism was always like, you know, the thing that was just ingrained in me. Like, you're an artist, you work in an office, you know. So here I am in this boxing gym, and they call me fat, telling me to get my ass over here. You know what I mean? So I said, okay, I'm going to listen because this is why I'm here. So I went over to the treadmill, and, you know, he's just, how long do I run? Like, just run a mile. And it took me like 19 minutes and 28 seconds to run a mile.
19
minutes. I was 220 pounds.
Wow.
It took me a really long time.
Yeah.
And the entire time, I was just watching. I was taking everything in. I was watching the trainers train the men. I was watching their movements, just listening. I'm a sponge. Like, when I want to learn and I'm searching for something, I am a sponge. And I was soaking it all up while I'm running my mile. And, you know, I'm like, wow, I'm really alert. I feel awake. I'm awakened. I haven't felt like this in the office in such a long time. So when I finished my mile, I went over to him. I said, okay, I'm ready. He's like, take your ass home. And I said, okay, I guess because I'm heavy and because I'm starting, this is how it works. So this happened.
So he only let you run for 19 minutes.
He didn't want to train me.
And then he told you to go home.
Yes. Because, there were no women. I kept going back. So again, there were no women in the gym. This is back, I started boxing 16 years ago. There were no boxing fitness studios back then. It was just the hardcore, you know, quote unquote, it was a guy's gym. So I didn't know any better. There were no women. So here I am, and he's telling me to go do this. So I guess this is what I'm supposed to do because no one told me the rules. I didn't know, you know what I mean? I didn't know that, oh no, wait, he's actually supposed to teach me something. So this happened for 2 weeks actually. And
you came back 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He told you to run, and then you went home.
Because I was learning while I was watching.
Right.
Because I'm watching the fighters, and I'm listening to what they're teaching them. So it's not, and I'm improving my time on the treadmill. So for me, you figure when you're dealing with depression and you're in a place where you don't want anything better for yourself, when you find something that makes you want to improve yourself and do better, you keep going to that thing. So for me, that thing was beating my time on the treadmill. I'm very competitive. So even in the state that I was in, I wanted to do better because at the end of the day, I knew that everything I was doing was for me. It was going to strengthen me to bring me out of this dark place that I had arrived in my life. So here I am on the treadmill and I'm running, and my goal is to beat my time that I put in yesterday, but I'm also learning and watching everything that's happening in the gym. I'm watching the woman who managed the gym, how she's handling the people, how she's dealing with the people, she's interacting. I'm watching the trainers, I'm watching the fighters, I'm watching sparring, I'm watching everybody that comes in. I'm studying everything. Meanwhile, I'm trying to beat my time. So the third week, I said, okay, this is going on for 2 weeks. Like, okay, and I'm watching. And I said, week 3, that day I went in, I didn't check in because you're supposed to check in with your trainer. I didn't check in with him. I just went straight to the treadmill. But then I had learned how to wrap my hands. So I got my mile in. I had my hands wrapped. I grabbed my gloves, and I was like, today, you have that self-talk where you got to talk yourself up. You're like, all right, today's the day. I'm going to stand up to my boss, or I'm going to stand up to this person. And that was my day. And I grabbed my gloves, and I marched over to him. And I said, I'm here. Get your fat ass on the treadmill. No. I've already done that. Okay, I've already got my run in. My hands are wrapped. And I was like, you know what? I said, I've watched you for 2 weeks. I said, train all these guys, teach them all these things. I said, and today is our day 1. You are going to begin to train me the way you've been training them. And he looked at me and he's like, are you serious? I said, I'm very serious. I said, if you need to just not see a woman and see a fighter, then you see the fighter in this woman. But you are going to begin training me today. And he's like, well, shit, come on, let's go over here then.
Wow.
So for me, it was a lesson for me, because in that moment, that's when I realized, like, wait a second, this guy's not going to do his job just because it's his job. I have to speak up. I have to stand up for myself and let this person know, this is what I want from you. This is why I'm here. And that was the beginning of, our trainer, relationship. And even then, it's like I had to train him how to train me, because this is a guy who's used to telling people, get your ass over there, cursing people out. Right. You're not going to talk to me like that. I don't care how depressed I am. You're not going to talk to me like that. So it was that. Well, okay, well, how do I talk to you? You instruct me. You don't yell at me. So it was that. It was a lot of back and forth. And it was...
So you talked back at him and were like...
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I imagine that would be difficult. Like,
it was very difficult.
You're in this environment, you're in this...
I was terrified. I'm like training
depressed.
all this.
like, how did you have how did you have the courage to actually do that?
At that time, it was the most terrifying thing for me to speak up and stand up for myself. And in that moment, I thought about how upset I've been in my past when I've been hurt and people didn't stand up for me. And I said, for me, it was the turning point where I was going to stand up for that inner child that people didn't stand up for. So that was more important to me than the fear that I had of this guy, like 6'2", with like muscles coming out of his neck, like cursing me out. I didn't care. Like, I'm here, I'm in your face, and you're going to start teaching me today. And what's going to happen? Either he's going to teach me or he's not, and I'm going to leave. Right. And that's when he started to train me. Wow. And that's when I started to I was like Neo in the Matrix, like the pieces just started coming together, And I'm like, what? Like, I'm 220 pounds, but I can move. It's like, I'm 220 pounds. The doctor's like, oh, your cholesterol's high, your blood pressure's high, you're at risk for diabetes, all these things. I'm like, but I can move. And I feel that the more I learn in this sport, the better I feel and the better I move and the more I see.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was just like, I had become addicted. It was that thing that like, okay, let me go to the office, let me do my thing, let me get my work in, get my magazines done, so I could go to the gym and train. Right. The men in the gym were very uncomfortable with me being there. They made it known. I had to fight someone every day. If I was working on a heavy bag, the gym could be empty. All of a sudden, here's a guy, he needed a bag that I was working on. Right. So it was that, okay, let me move and let this guy have a bag because I heard he's training for a fight, whatever. Even though there's like 12 other bags here, let me move. If I was working on the speed bag, you need to get off of that because I need that bag. Okay, let me move. I guess, it's their world. Every day I would hear, it's a man's world. Women don't belong in the gym. Why are you here? So these are the things that I would hear every day. And it was really, really hard, but it was a good lesson in how to turn off the noise and really focus on why I was there. The feeling that I got from the sport and feeling myself getting better and faster and stronger and hitting harder, that was spirit building for me because my spirit was broken at the time when I started boxing. And for me, that was everything. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to experience everything. When the more I trained, the more vocal I became. So when that guy came around and he's like, yeah, I need you to get off that bag. And I'd be like, no, I need you to kiss my ass. And you can go use that bag over there. Like, it's like that's you know, that's the person I became. And I'm like, yeah, unapologetically, you can totally kiss my ass and you can go use one of those bags over there and get out of my face. And just the look of shock. But he surely turned his ass around and walked over there and hit that other bag. It's like, no, it's not your world. It's our world. We have to share it. And if I have to teach you how, then so be it. Here's your lesson number one. Wow. So that was, I mean, the beginning of me, like, wait a second, like not just standing up for myself, but creating a safe space for myself.
Right.
And through the training and just learning and feeling the incredible rewards that I received from this sport, the question lied with me, why aren't there any women in this gym? Like it just, I'm like, why am I with these guys every day? And the fact that I would go back every day and they saw where I started. Those guys knew I was broken and they would try to break me. They would try to break me down even more every day because they didn't want me to come back. And the ones who saw, wait, she keeps coming back. Okay, we called her this, we did this, we took this from her, whatever, but she keeps coming back. Anybody who knows anything about boxing, they know respect is everything in boxing. So even if you don't like me, you don't like the fact that I'm a woman, you don't like the fact that I'm here in your gym, you're gonna respect that I come here every day and I put in the same work you do on top of dealing with the bullshit you're giving me, but I'm putting all that work in and doing the same thing. You're going to respect that. And some of them did, they started to. And that's when, you know, they see me, then I start to get the pound. You know, it's a big deal in the gym. You know, you get a pound.
Oh, right.
Like,
yeah. The fist bump.
You get the fist bump. Like, oh, I got a fist bump today. Like, oh, okay, that was nice. That was cute. So, I mean, when they see that in that space, when they saw that, I didn't care what they thought. I didn't care what they said.
Right.
I didn't care what they did to me. When they saw that I was really only focused on me, I had no interest in them at all, that made them respect me. That made them take me and my training and my space seriously. And that was the beginning of them learning how to respect my space.
Right. I do wonder, you, despite the fact that you were so down, you had this strength, right?
Always.
This power,
Always.
which most people probably don't have. Like, you know, how, I'm wondering how what you went through, it's so impressive. How could somebody else who's in a similar situation actually, like, you know, channel your inner you?
I think especially when I talk with young girls, when I talk to people about channeling their inner self, I tell them, you know, I suggest to them to do what I did. I think about my inner child. I think about that person who I felt nobody fought for. And I think about, you know, all the times that we all have that inner child. We all carry that, you know, that inner child around with us. And we all have moments where we can think back like that. Like, yeah, I wish that person would have stood up for me. I wish that person would have like had my back, or I wish that person would have protected me from that situation. We all have those moments in our life. So for me, it was just making that promise to myself that, and taking on the responsibility of protecting that inner child and keeping that inner child safe and standing up for that inner child, instead of like things happening and I walk away and upset and I'm like, well, I wish I would have said that, or I wish somebody else would have stood up for me. No, I encourage people. Like, I encourage young girls, that inner child that you feel like so many people disappointed, you don't blame those people for not standing up for you. You can stand up for yourself.
You are by no means 220 pounds anymore today.
No.
You know, how did you then lose all that weight?
You know, I didn't even realize when I lost all the weight. That's the interesting part, because I was heavy my whole life. I battled with weight my whole life. So Through the training, because the training is total body, is mind, spirit, like total body. Boxing is no joke. Boxing, no one can do it for you. You know what I mean? And for me, it was, I would be in the gym like 2.5 hours like every night, like just because it felt so good. I felt so strong, coming out of that, depressed state. I felt so powerful. That feeling became addictive to me. It was interesting though, because I wore the same clothes. So here I am losing all this weight because I was like, sweating, training, putting in rounds after back, but I still wore size 42, 44, like, you know what I mean? I still wore the same clothes. So my clothes were falling off me. I hadn't even realized, because I still saw myself how I was when I was heavy, because I was heavy my whole life. So I didn't even realize until, my parents were like, honey, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, like everything is great. Like, what are you kidding? Like, this is amazing. Like, everything's great. They're like, you're not sick? I'm like, no. Like, I'm training. Like, I'm in training and I love it. And it wasn't until someone showed me a picture of myself.
Yeah.
And I said, that's what I look like? And they're like, yes. And they're like, could you please buy some new clothes?
It's one thing to box and get fit. It's another thing to start sparring. It's another thing to actually do a fight.
Yeah.
How did you
And
get
it's
to that
another thing
point?
to teach other people.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, again, when I started boxing, I started late in life. Like, I had a career. Boxing was not my career. Like, publishing was my career. I was a creative director. I started boxing, I told you, 16 years ago?
Yeah.
I was 31 when I started boxing.
Wow. 31?
I know, I look good, right? I know.
Okay, I've got to make sure to post a picture
30?
with you, obviously, in the show notes.
Everybody says that.
So,
They're like,
how old are you now?
I just turned 47
Wow.
on September 5th.
Wow.
Yes, people are like, why? I thought you were 30. I'm like, keep thinking that. Yeah. So for me, when I started boxing, it was more to find myself, to build myself, to find my strength, and to build my strong. Then it became, okay, I need to learn, because it bothers me, it disturbs me that there aren't more women in this sport. There aren't more women in this gym reaping the benefits and the rewards that I have from this sport. I have to learn. I want to learn from everybody so I can teach. In order to learning from everyone, that meant, of course, I had to spar.
Right.
I had to work with different trainers. Because I was a woman, there was no attachment. Boxing gyms are very much like a beauty salon. You can't go to one stylist like for 5 years and all of a sudden go in and sit in another stylist's chair. Like, you will be banned from that salon. Like, that stylist will never speak to you again. Boxing is very much like that. Trainers and fighters, coaches, this is my fighter, don't speak to my fighter. It's a lot of that. But because I was a woman and no one really, they didn't care. They told me I wasn't an investment. I couldn't be their prize fighter. They couldn't make any money off of me because I was a woman. So why would they invest in training me? Why would they care? They taught me because they saw that I had skills. Any coach, any trainer who sees a fighter who has skills or who's a natural, they're going to want to teach them just because they see that they already have it and they enjoy it because they know, oh, this person has it, they're good, they're serious, whatever. But I'm not going to invest all my time in this person because I can't get anything out of them. It's like a prize horse, you know what I mean? So
did you pay them well? Like
no, like I paid the gym membership, but because they saw my journey. They saw when I walked in. They saw all the work that I put in when I was there. That, again, made them respect me. And they saw that I wanted to learn. So I would go with this trainer, like, I want to train with you for a little bit. Because all the trainers train differently. Like, I noticed that. Yeah. And nobody talks and nobody shares, there's the drills, the skills, anything, because your fighter may have to fight their fighter. So nobody shares. So I said, okay, this is a good opportunity. Since no one wants to, attach themselves to me, I can train with everybody. And I can learn all the different styles. I can learn, okay, I need to get in the ring. I got to spar these guys. There were no women. I had to spar the guys. Go home, bust it up. Go to the office. What happened to you? Like, girl, it was a rough night. But it was, for me, I knew then I had to do something about getting more women into the sport, getting more women into the gym. So it was learning so I can teach, because that was important to me. I was learning that it was no longer important to me to go to the office, sit at a desk, sit at a fancy computer, design pretty magazines, make a lot of money. That was no longer important to me. what was important to me was teaching other women what I had learned. So I remember when I decided, I said, okay, I think I'm gonna start training. And because they saw my progress, they saw me training. I had a couple of women actually ask me and say, hey, can you train me and my friend? And I said, yeah, actually I can. And I said, I can train you where I train, because I had already established, again, my space, that respect. So people, for the most part, they knew, okay, we're just gonna leave her alone because she's not going away. Her 30 days turned into 3, 5, 6 years. We're gonna leave her alone. And I started training 2 women. And at the time I lived in Jersey, out in the burbs in Jersey. So it was me getting up, at 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes to catch first train out of Jersey to, train them before I went to the office, and, then going to the office, doing my thing, and then training in the evening. And then they said, hey, we have a couple more friends that want to train, with us. Can they join us? Absolutely. And then it grew into, hey, you think we could maybe train 2 days a week? Sure. And then, that's when people at the gym started to kind of say, hey, wait a second, what is she doing? Because again, there were only male trainers. There were no female trainers. So for me to be a woman, and now I'm what they call on the floor, I'm holding mitts, I'm training other women. They're like, who in the hell does she think she is? We allowed her in,
Right.
It's okay, she wasn't going away. We allowed her to stay and do her thing, whatever. But now she thinks she's going to do our job in our house. And I'm like, yeah.
So it started all over again?
So it started all over again.
Right.
And when that happened, I was like, oh, no. This is something. Yes, I'm going to have to fight you now, because yes, you feel I don't belong on the floor with you, but these women keep coming back and they're learning and they're getting better. And the things that I'm teaching them, they're applying in their lives outside of here the same way I did.
And I don't understand this. They bring business to the gym too.
Yeah.
Why would be that?
The manager, the woman who managed the gym, okay?
Right.
She would say to me, you have to keep your girls over here in this corner. This is a man's gym. This is their gym. And this woman literally brought some tape over and put a line of tape. Yes, I was like, oh my word. I said, I can't even imagine. And she's like, you girls, you have to stay over here in this corner. Don't be over here distracting my guys. And I was just like, wow, this is incredible. I can't even, I'm so sad for her. What? And that's when I started thinking, I'm like, there has to be something I can do about this. So more women started asking to join. And I said to the owner, that's when I started getting the idea. I said, I think I want to open a first women's boxing gym in New York City. And I said, I didn't tell her that. I said, you need help. I said, how about, I volunteer and whatever you need. I said, you need a water person. I said, you need somebody to work the phones, the front desk. You need somebody to clean the gym. I said, I'll volunteer and I'll be, your phone person, your cleanup girl Friday nights. I wanted to learn the business. I didn't tell her that, but I needed to be in the culture. I needed to learn the business, learn the culture, learn the people. And I needed to learn how the gym, was running, how it operated. And she's like, you want to work here for free? I said, absolutely. And she's like, well, these are the things I need you to do. This woman gave me the longest list. And I said, okay. I'm like, I got it. Sweep the ring, sweep the floor, clean the locker rooms, got it. It was then when I started volunteering, and the first time when I went in to actually clean the men's locker room. And that's when I was like, oh, this is some bullshit. The women's locker room, because it was a quote unquote men's gym, the women's locker room was actually a storage room that they had just put a stall in and a small shower. And it was like a little closet because there were no women in the gyms. So when the women started coming, they're like, oh, we have to do something for them. We got to build a storage room. So it was a small little, I can't even tell you how small that locker room was. Couple lockers. When I went into the men's locker room.
Golden toilets.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm like, the shower stalls, the showers for the men was larger than the women's locker room, the entire locker room. They had rooms and spaces and corners and turns and all these lockers and benches. And they had this long vanity mirror. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me. And I'm like, wait a second. She's right. Because this gym was built for them. Mm-hmm. So for me, these are lessons. And I'm like, no, I know I can do this. I know I can do this. And I know I can do this right. I know I can open up a gym. I know I could build a gym for us. And I know I could do this right. And that for me was when I decided this is what I'm working towards. So then it was just like more women were coming. I was adding more classes.
Right.
I was training on Saturday. It was like I haven't had a weekend in like, oh my gosh, like 14 years. It's like Monday through Saturday. Getting up sometimes at 3 to train my clients earlier to meet them at the gym, and going to the office, maintaining my career because I knew, okay, I gotta build this up. I can't leave my job. I got a mortgage. I gotta have all these things. I have to pay off my bills. I have to pay off my credit cards. I have to put things in order because I know that this no longer feeds me and this does. So I have to figure out how I can do this thing and make a living off of doing this thing. You know what I mean? So that's when the idea, and even I came up with the name of Women's World of Boxing. I got so sick of hearing it's a man's world. I was like, okay, my bro, Women's World of Boxing. That's what I'm gonna open up. It's gonna be a women's world, okay? And you're gonna come to me and ask me for a job, and I'm gonna say no. And you know that happened, right? No, I'm good. I got it. So that was the beginning. And it was like, and that's what we're talking about, the name. Everything's in a name.
Yeah.
I'm like, this name has to mean so much. This name, when people hear Women's World of Boxing, it's like, one, they know what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And two, it's like, no, this is the story behind it. Because every day I would hear, this is a man's world. You do not belong here. Every day. Every day I go to the boxing gym. It's a man's world. Women don't belong here.
Right.
Fine. I'll go create my own world. And you're going to want to be there.
Right.
And I'm going to let you be there. I'm just not going to let you sweat on my floor.
Okay, let me ask you though. Okay, so how do you feel about excluding men? You know, like I understand. Obviously, it's beautiful, and you create an environment for women, and because boxing gyms, you know, grimy, terrifying, big dudes. Like, even as a guy, like you can feel uncomfortable there, right? Yeah. And true, even if you're like not even like an unfit, you know, like did you consider like should I have men, should I not, or did you just know like it's just going to be women only?
No, I don't exclude men.
Right.
That's the interesting part. My boxing gym in East Harlem is very much a community. It's like a community house. I do train men. I just train them privately. Right. Like, because I had to train men. Once I started training and building, men wanted to train with me, which I thought was awesome. Because again, it's that idea. This woman doesn't know anything about boxing. And guys would watch and say, no, actually she does. You know what I mean? And then it's like men would train with me and they say, wait, I've trained with this person for 6 years. I didn't learn half of the things that I've learned with you in like 2 sessions. It's like, yes, because there's no ego here. I'm teaching you what I know from the basics, from the ground. So here we are. Let's start this journey together. That's how I teach. I don't exclude men. I have women group classes. So it's like I train everybody privately. You know what I mean? But for the groups, no. Is it a women's gym? Absolutely. I have my group classes in the morning. During the day is when I train privately. I do train some of my male clients privately because the gym is closed. Like this is their private time, whether it's female or male. It's private. Then in the evenings, I have my group classes for the girls. I have an after school program, and also the women. So that's when I tell the guy, and some of the guys, they don't even train with me, especially in the neighborhood, but they come in, coach, can I talk to you? Yes, sit down, let's talk. Did you bring my coffee? Yeah, here you go, coach. Okay, what's going on in your life?
No, you're a dick.
Yes, exactly. It's like I got to give it back to them. They taught me well. You know what I mean? They taught me well. So, and they love it. You know what I mean? Because it's like they feel comfortable. Yeah. And it's like I've learned so much about people. And I've learned so much about men in opening this women's boxing gym. And it's really fascinating to me. And like you said about even, there are a lot of guys that don't feel comfortable going into a boxing gym. And I had to learn that. Like, oh wow, he's just as uncomfortable as, you know, we are walking into the gyms. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't, and everybody who knows me, they know I don't exclude anyone. You know what I mean? It's like I'm there for everyone. I feel like I'm in service to people. When I teach them, I try to teach them life skills in addition to the boxing skills. And I always, share the metaphors with them that hopefully, they take with them and apply to their lives. And it kind of helps them see things a little differently and see through different lenses, I teach how I learn, and that's how I learn. Like when I can relate this to, something I'm experiencing in my life. Sparring taught me not to take things personal. It's like if I'm in the ring and I'm throwing shots at somebody and they're trying to do the same thing to me, it's not personal. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to learn how to get out of the way and give it right back. So I know in my movements outside in the world, It's like, wait a sec, people walking around, everybody's walking around with a lot of stuff. You know, it's like I used to be one of those people. Well, you bump me the wrong way, forget it. You know what I mean?
I think this is the beauty of boxing, right? Because you have an instant feedback, but you actually take it as feedback. You're like, okay, I gotta put my hand here, or I can't be in this position, or I'm off balance, whatever it might be. Well, it's like outside of boxing, we might take things personal, or we dwell on them versus saying like, hey, this is actually feedback, right? And yes, it hurts, right?
Yeah.
Physically, mentally.
Yeah.
But therefore, I got to do something different.
Exactly.
Right?
I got to switch it up. I got to learn how to do something different. It's like, and then I think, okay, well, what was off? Why couldn't I move? Was my balance off? Was I thinking about what I thought this person was going to do as opposed to watching their actions and reacting to their actions? You know what I mean? So it's been a very, very interesting journey. And for me, it's boxing. It's true boxing, like the real sweet science of boxing. It's the weight. It's the balance. You feel me? It's the timing. It's the rhythm. It's all the things that I feel that we need to kind of focus on to help us live out there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I love how you smile while you're saying this. Like you love it.
You wish that camera was on, right?
Yes, I wish. Okay, so you have the name.
Yes.
You know you're gonna open Women's World of Boxing. You've done the training.
I know eventually. Yeah, I don't know how. I never know how I'm gonna do anything. I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
But you got it, and then. Did you get money? How did you find a location?
Oh
like how did you get started?
I started my boxing club in 2007.
Right.
It's 2019. We're going to 2020. I just opened a year and 7 months ago. So it's been a journey. Like I had to.
Oh, okay. So you opened a club and then you opened the gym.
I started my boxing club. And so basically I built my business inside other gyms.
Right. Plus you understand branding. Building a brand from your previous role.
Everything. Exactly.
Oh, your actual job.
Yeah, for my actual job, I know. It's like I knew the importance of doing that early on. So for me, it was then building up my brand, building up my clientele, learning as much as I could, sharing, figuring out scheduling, figuring out how to manage all of this while still maintaining my career. You know what I mean? So it took a very long time. I remember when I first got my first piece of press, and I was just like, okay, you want to interview me for the Daily News? Like, okay, all right, sure, this is where I am. You can come find me. You know, I was so green to it all and just learning how to manage that. And, you know, things that, okay, now it's, I could have done that better. Now I know next time. Let me take a note. If I do anything else, you know, press relate, this is what I need to do. You know, just learning about all the different things. And saving. I knew that I was going to be leaving publishing. I knew that I could know it. When you realize the thing that you're supposed to do, it's like, it's bittersweet. Because on one hand, you're like, damn, I can't hide anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't hide behind this desk. It's like, and it's sweet because you're like, wait, this is the thing that I know I'm supposed to be doing. This is my purpose. I'm supposed to teach women and girls how to find their fight and how to use it in their lives. And that's it. Like, that's it. And that brings me joy. That gives me life. Now I got to figure out how to do that all day because this cubicle is for the birds. So it was paying down my credit cards, paying off all the debt, saving the money instead of, you know, traveling and doing all the things that, you know, I used to do. It's like, I got to think, now I have a goal. Now I'm looking into, and there were a few times when I thought, okay, I think I can do this. I think I'm ready. And I would, you know, hit up a broker and say, hey, show me this place. I need to learn this part of it now. Like, what does it mean to go in and get a lease on a commercial space in New York? Like, what is that about? I had no idea. And I've never had a mentor. I've literally had to do everything on my own and just figure it out on my own. So it was, okay, let me see what that's about. And then it was going, you know, to the places and learning about square footage and learning about different neighborhoods and all these different things. And I'm like, oh my word, this is crazy. I'm like, well, maybe I could just stay in these stinky gyms and just do what I'm doing, you know? So it was a lot of that. Like, I've done so much research over the years and I've learned so much. And I always feel like, you know, when it's time and you commit to the time and the work and you discover that mission and, you know, your purpose, that things will align themselves. You know what I mean? When I knew I was leaving publishing, I just started packing. Like every day I would leave, I would take something home from, my cube, my office. They're like, where are you going? I said, I don't know, but I know I'm leaving. Well, when? I don't know, but I know, but I know I'm leaving. And every day I would start emptying out because I've been there for so long. I've been there for 13 years. So I just started packing, just putting it out in the universe that, okay, it's time for me to go. And so when that time came, I knew it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the day that I'm supposed to leave this career. And there was no regret. There was no fear. There was no worry. It was, if anything, it was such a Zen moment because I had decided that I was moving on to my next chapter. And I had taken on the responsibility of writing that next chapter. And I said, if I can work this hard for someone else who I don't like, I can work just as hard for the people I do like and for myself. And it was such a freeing moment. And they threw me a party. They were like, is this bitch retiring? They're like, no, she's too young to retire. They're like, who gets a party when they quit a job? I'm like, me, because they knew my work ethic.
Yeah.
And they knew me as a person. And my colleagues, they were in tears. They're like, oh, you got out. I was like, yes, and you can too. You know what I mean? And then it was just building up in the gym. The gym where I started boxing is where I was there for 6 years. I built up my clientele for 6 years. I would have 30 women in that gym, completely took over the gym. It became a problem, of course, because the men were just like, they're sitting on the bench watching me train all these women. They're like, this is crazy. So a neighboring gym owner, he was opening up a spot. He had 9,000 square feet. So I went to him, introduced himself. He's like, you don't have to introduce yourself. I know who you are. He goes, all these women come to my gym looking for you because the gym was nearby where I was training. He's like, and I'm glad you're here. And he said to me, he's like, come here, I want to show you my locker room. And I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, because he knew that the women's locker room was an issue because the gyms didn't have locker rooms for women.
Because you told him before?
No, because he knew. He was in boxing. He knew
Right.
the gyms were not made for women. So they didn't really care about, women's boxing gym. I said, yeah, I said, that's the first thing. I said, I need to see your women's locker room. And when he showed it to me, he goes, I built this locker room for you and your clients. Yay! And I said, smart man. I said, let me tell you something. I said, here's a list of people. I said, if I ever see in your gym, I will take all my clients and be gone the next day. I said, if you want me here, you want my business here, you want my clients here. I said, these people right here, they're not allowed here. I said, do you agree? He's like, absolutely. Because those are all the trainers who gave me all the shit, who tried to just disrespect me, disrespect my clients. They were inappropriate. Here's a list. If I see any of them in your gym at any point, I am leaving with my business. I understand. We shook hands, and I was at his gym for, I believe, 6 years. And during the 6 years, I made a promise to myself. I said, I am not going to any other gym. The next gym I go to is going to be my own.
And that was the men's gym?
That was Mendez, yeah. I love Mendez. Francisco, he's my buddy. Like he's just like, he's like, you did it, man. You did it. I'm like, yes, I did. So then it was like, okay, when I found a place, I'm like, oh my gosh, Uptown, El Barrio. Oh my gosh, Spanish Harlem. That's like boxing central. How am I going to tell these guys they can't come to my gym? You know what I mean? It was that. Like, you can't move to the hood and then tell people like, oh yeah, by the way, this is not for you.
So people who are not familiar with New York City, how would you describe that area?
Spanish Harlem, it is, I think the name says it all. Spanish Harlem. You know, boxing is a big part of the Spanish, culture, and they're just boxing. Hector Camacho, like, come on. His aunt comes to my gym. Like, his son came to my gym. You know what I mean? They're like, wait, we got to check this out. So to move into, a community like that and to open up a boxing gym for women, the guys are like, wait a second, we got to go check her out. And even then it was during construction because I was on site. Like most people who came, they were like, oh, she's one of the workers. I'm like, yes, I am. They don't need to know I own this place. Like, yeah, I'm here. I was a project manager on my own site. Like construction took a year. I said, if I could survive construction, I could survive anything. Like that was one of the hardest lessons. Just being so green to it all again and not having anyone who I could, ask. I had no one to advise me. Like it was the most challenging just part in my life in building this gym. I had no idea, contractors, how they move, how they work, how they don't work, how they show up, how they don't, you know what I mean? I had to learn all of that. And that was yeah, that was a test. That was a test.
As you were designing your gym,
Yes.
right? Is there something in your gym that you wouldn't find in a normal, like in a mixed gym?
The details in my gym.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like the light switches have like, Wonder Woman, like, plates and, female superheroes and, things like that. The interesting part about construction is when they were building the locker room.
Yeah.
They're like, well, where's the men's locker room? I'm like, in the men's gym. I'm like, now you know how it feels. They're like, wait, this is a boxing gym. Like, where's the locker room for the guys? I'm like, there is no locker room for the guys. But there is a really nice bathroom for the guys. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. There's a
On
nice
behalf of
shower
all
there,
men,
too.
thank you.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, that was fun.
Right.
But even, like, during construction, because I was so hands-on, I was literally there, like, on site, like, every day. Like, every day. And, I would help build things. Like, I'm painting. I was very much a part of all of it and overseeing it. And also, too, being in charge of it. Like, I had a few, of the guys who told me, I'm not doing this. I only do what my boss tells me to do. And I said, okay, that's great.
For example?
In my gym, I don't know if you've seen pictures, but say my back wall where I have my logo by the ring.
Right.
And I was just going over, with the supervisor who was there, that day. I'm like, okay, this wall needs to be this color. This needs to be that. And he's like, okay, I'll let the guy know. Apparently one guy who wasn't there after the supervisor left, I'm like, okay, this needs to be that. And he's like, not listening to you. I said, excuse you? He's like, I only take orders from my boss. I said,
you were the client.
Yeah. But again, I'm a woman. You know what I mean? It's like all those things that could have possibly been in his mind. He's not looking at me as a client. You know what I mean?
So he's also now on the list in the men's gym?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you just earned your spot on that list. And I said, first of all, I never order anybody to do anything. I said, I'm instructing you. I said, because this is how it needs to go. Well, I'm only doing what my boss tells me to do. I said, since I pay your boss, I said, and your boss pays you, I said, that kind of makes me your boss. I said, so how about you go paint that wall? And I just looked at him like that, and he went over there and he painted that wall.
Luckily, you had practice in telling,
I have so much practice, so much.
Telling people what you want.
Yeah. It's like people mirror you. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to give you ugly. I'm just going to give you facts. I'm not going to make it personal. It's like, bottom line, this is what it is. It's like, you can do this or you cannot have a job. Like, I'm not, it's that simple. Okay. Like, at the end of the day, that wall is going to be painted the color that I wanted by the end of this day.
How did you get the funds? How did you get the investment?
Gosh. We just met. I probably owe you money. Borrow money from everybody. I had an angel investor, family, friends, 401k, cashed it out. I'm like, what? Retirement? Who's retiring? So it was that. Like, so now it's like, okay, I got to open up another gym so I can pay people back.
Where are you going to open it?
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, that's just a part of, my plan, my dream now.
Yeah.
It's now that...
Could you become a franchise?
No. I do not want to become a franchise. And I've had people write to me from all over the country, all over the world, people just writing, we need a gym here. We need you to open here. I would not become a franchise because Women's World of Boxing is home for so many people. I would create homes all over. LA, DC, Miami, but it would not be a franchise because I would have to be there. I would visit, I would drop in, I would teach people, I would have schedules because I would want it to be that community that we have here in New York. New York is home for a lot of people. And the programs that I have, the after school program, it's like, that's not a franchise. It's like I see those kids in the street. I see those girls when they're about to get into fights and they see me and they just walk away. Coach, yes, I'll meet you at the gym. To me, that's not a franchise. Yeah. It's too personal for me to be a franchise.
I noticed you had quite a bit of media attention when you opened.
Yeah.
Was that by design or is it because you have a beautiful story?
Well, thank you for that. I think it's because of the story. And it's really interesting because again, like you're looking at the one woman operation. I do all of it. Like I don't have a publicist. I don't people say you've been on TV. I don't have an agent. None of it. Yeah. So all the press that we've gotten, it's kind of incredible. People are just like, wait, what? And every single person, every single incredible person like yourself has reached out and said, hey, I like your story. Oh yeah, everybody has a backstory. So
Wow.
yeah, a lot of press.
And then you opened day one.
Day one, yes. And I said, oh my God, what have I done? I said I wanted to open the first women's boxing gym in New York City, but I never said I wanted to run it. Like, it's such a different world. It's such a different world. Being a trainer, being a coach, and
Completely
being
different skill
a business
set.
owner. It's
Yeah.
a very different skill set. And doing all the things, managing, operating, the admin, scheduling, cleaning. People like, you clean? Yes, I clean the toilets. This is my house. I scrub the showers. I clean
Really?
the floor. Yes,
Why
I
not
do
hire
everything.
people?
Because it's a startup. People say that.
Right.
Why don't you hiring people is a luxury. When you are a startup, everything for me, it's like I don't have, an endless supply of cash, unfortunately. Every dollar I make goes into paying the rent, paying the utilities, keeping the place open because it's a startup.
How many clients would you need to be profitable? Like, is it? I always wonder. Look at gyms. Like, is this gym making money? Is it losing? Like
It's franchises, the larger names, they make money because they can. They have the staff. They can.
Oh, and
you know
they
what I mean?
charge like $35 or $40 per session, which is
Yeah,
I think
no,
very
that's
good.
what I
Yeah.
charge
Yeah.
for a group session.
Right.
But because that's what I have to charge
Right.
because they've set the standard.
Right.
Back in the day, you go to a boxing gym and you can pay $5 for the month.
Yeah.
But because of what's happened in boxing, it's like, oh, no. You have to charge this now. And if you're trying to stay open in Manhattan, you have to.
Because rent is so
Because
expensive.
the rent is so expensive. So yes, it's profitable.
Right.
But because the expenses are so high,
Right.
and when you're starting out, you put everything into your business. Like credit cards, like whatever, you do whatever you have to do to get that business open, to get it open and running. So even if you're making money, you have to start to pay people back.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no room to pay anybody to do the work that I know I can do. If I can manage my career and build this business at the same time, I can scrub my own showers, I can scrub my own toilets and clean my floor and still take care of my clients. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So it's like the dream, the goal is, yes, to eventually be able to hire someone, to work the front desk, to be able to hire other trainers so that I can build and expand. That is the goal. But for now, it's first year in business. Are you kidding me? Listen.
What advice would you give a mixed gym owner, apart from nicer locker rooms,
Yeah.
to create just a better environment?
The better environment. That's the advice that I would give anyone in business. For me, the most important thing is a good experience. I had such a hard time coming into boxing. So for me, those were things that I learned. There was no community there. It was the loneliest thing I've ever done because I was by myself in a place where people didn't want me. So for me, it was building a supportive community. There are no cliques. There's none of that. It's like making sure that everyone who comes into your space has a good experience. Like that's everything. A lot of gyms now, I take issues with them for a few different reasons. All these different boxing fitness studios. I feel like they give women such a false sense of security because they don't teach boxing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They teach boxercise.
They teach boxercise, which is fine, but
just to clarify,
Yeah.
because not necessarily everybody might know what the difference is between technical boxing and
Yeah.
boxercise. So, boxercise is fitness with boxing elements,
Yeah.
which you probably can't put into practice.
exactly, which you shouldn't put into practice.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
You
it's
were
fine.
meant to
It's fine.
to yeah. So there's boxercise out there.
Yeah, there's boxercise out there, which is fine because there's a market for it.
Yes.
There are people that want that, which is fine.
It's a fitness class.
It's a fitness class. But for me, I guess the challenge that I have in the struggle when women come in who've taken those classes. And I explain to them and I show them because it's, oh, I boxed before. Where have you boxed? Oh, I box here. I'm like, okay, that's not what this is. Okay. I said, and I tell people, every girl, every woman I see them as a fight house. Imagine you are a house. When you build a house, do you build a house from the attic down? Or do you build a house from the basement up?
And as you were saying attic down, you were actually just throwing punches.
Just throwing punches.
Yeah.
Just throwing punches.
Yeah.
You have no balance. Your legs are all over here. Your hands are here. That's you building a house from the attic down. Yeah. How long do you think, what's going to support that attic? Your basement, your legs, boxing, like back in the day, boxing, the sweet science. There's a science to it. You have to learn how to move. You have to learn how to balance. And for me, it's like, that's how I explain it to women. And then when they come, I'm like, I don't care how long you've been boxing. I don't care where you have to take my first class. And then when they take it, they're like, oh, well, no one's ever taught me this. And I said, I know.
When you talk with people about boxing, a lot of them who don't know much about it, they would think it's people hitting each other, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's the common perception. What would you tell them? What is actually boxing?
Boxing is Zen, okay? It really, really is. That's what I tell people. And it makes me laugh when women come into the gym. This lady came in last week. She's like, I saw you on TV. I said, it wasn't me. I said with a straight face, it wasn't me. She said, it wasn't? I said, yes, it was. She's like, I saw you hitting this person with these noodles. She goes, I came here so you can noodle me. I said, she really said that. I said, okay, hold on, I'll be right back. I got my swim noodle and I hit her and I'm like, are you happy? I'm so happy. And I said, okay, well, I'm not going to hit you again. Is that okay? And she goes, you're not? I said, no, I'm not going to hit you. I said, I don't know why people come here and they just say the first thing, are you going to hit me? Only if you want me to, but I didn't intend on it. Boxing is very, very zen because we work out so much on the back. We work out so much in our minds through learning and through focusing on what we're doing that it really, really does. It calms your spirit because when you see that you have other options, you don't have to put all of that in one place. So yeah, I try to explain that to people, and I let people know, like, I used to be a very angry person before I started boxing. And now it's like, forget it. It's like, I'm very calm because I realize I have so many options, I have so many openings.
Have you done an actual fight?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can you talk me through your experience there?
You know what?
The first one?
It was really crazy because I just took the fight. Like, I hadn't been training, like I hadn't been running. I had gained so much weight, but I was in that place where I was just, it was awful. I was doing construction, okay?
Jesus.
Yes. And I said, yeah, Sonia hit me up. I need a fighter. When's the fight? 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll take it. It was terrible. I hadn't sparred anything. And for me, it was, I need something to get my mind away from this stress. I need something to wake me up because this is insane. So with my first fight, it was so funny because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. I've been training everybody. I hadn't run. It was terrible.
Oh my God.
And yeah, exactly. And I remember when I was so excited to experience it because, again, when I started boxing, I didn't box to compete. I trained to compete. Yeah. And then my trainer dropped me when he found out how old I was and I couldn't go into the gloves and do all these things. I was a lot older than he thought. He thought I was a lot younger because, Yeah. So for me,
because you look great.
Well, thank you. So for me, it was never about competing, and it was about sparring and learning and doing and teaching. And when that opportunity came to take the fight, I'm like, yeah, I want to do it. Like, why not? I train fighters. Like, I've trained them for fight. Yeah, I'm gonna fight. I'm like, I'm gonna kill somebody. I'm gonna kill one of these contractors. Let me take this fight. 2 weeks.
Bad idea.
It was. I laugh now. I interviewed the fighter who beat me. I was like, oh, we got to talk about this after the fight. She was like, oh my gosh. She goes, you hit so hard. I'm like, I know I hit like a mule. I said, but you still won that fight. She's like, how long have you been training? I'm like, I did not train. She's like, I've been training 6 months. I said, I could tell because your skills were tight. Right. Me, I was just like, I'm just happy to be here.
3 rounds.
3 rounds. I mean, of course I went the distance, of course.
Yeah.
And Sonia was like, it was so close. She goes, why'd you? She goes, you had her on the ropes. And I said, you know what? I said, I wasn't there to win. I was there to experience the fight. And that, for me, that was like, it was a win-win, because for me, I'm doing something that I've been training people to do. I have fighters who won their fights, and it's like awesome, great. And I'm like, no, but here I think I want to do this. I want to experience this. I don't want to win. I didn't train for it. I didn't deserve to win. I didn't train. It was 2 weeks. I didn't. That's not an excuse. That's just reality.
Yeah.
And I told the woman who I fought, I said, you fought incredible. Like, I could tell you trained. I could tell you put in the work. And she said, you want to meet here again next year? I said, hell no. I'm like, absolutely not. I said, I experienced what I came to experience. Right. I never thought about winning. I just thought about, this is something I want to experience.
Right.
So for me, it's very different. Like, I've always had a very different mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, no, I'm not meeting you. I'll come support you and watch you. I said, beat somebody else's ass. I said, but it won't be mine.
Have you done another fight since?
I haven't, but I said that once I got the gym up and running and established, that I would this time train and I would fight again.
Does it matter to you that you didn't win? Like,
no.
Is it no?
No, because it was the best experience ever. No, but I had so much fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, I just don't believe that there are any losses. I believe there are lessons, you know?
I've done one fight.
Yeah.
And I didn't win either.
But how'd you feel though? Like,
it was
the thing.
That day was the scariest day of my life. The problem is that actually I had the flu just a few days prior. And the day before, I was like, I'm just going to go for a light run. And after 4 minutes, I was done.
Yeah.
I went in there and I firmly believed that the doctor would not declare me fit to fight. Yeah. But he said, oh, you've been sick.
Oh, yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. And he's like, it's going to be 3 rounds. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this. Yeah. And it was 10 fights. I was the 10th. So it was like 11:30 p.m. And I was there since 5. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was so nervous. I was talking to the other guys. Yeah. I was like, how do you feel? Like, you know, everybody's just looking around. Yeah, and like, it's like kind of, most were a little bit scared, you could tell. And I asked this one guy, and he just said, I just don't want to embarrass myself. Yeah. I want to look good. And like, that's the thing. Yeah. So I was so nervous. But the moment I walked in, it all went away. That's awesome. And then I entered the ring. And then it was ding, 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 and the fight was on. And I look, he had much more forward pressure than I had. Yeah. You know, I got actually less hit than in sparring whatsoever. I didn't embarrass myself. That's awesome. I think I looked decent, and yes, like I wish I would have had more energy. But actually, at the same time, I kind of appreciate that I didn't win, because I look at I trained for 3 months for it, and I look at those 3 months, and that was the experience. And I look at the night, and that's an experience on its own. Absolutely. And I look at, well, yeah, I should have just done more hooks and more rights. Where were they? Yeah. I was just jabbing. Yeah. Anyhow, but I look at it like what I've learned. I've learned how to breathe. Every time I have a presentation, I get nervous. I'm thinking I've been much more nervous than that. Exactly. So it makes me appreciate of what I've lost. And so I don't feel like a loser. I actually feel like a winner. Exactly. Right. Exactly. And it's interesting, but I wouldn't do another fight because I know the dedication it takes to actually train for it is a long time. If you look back, you know, where you are today. Yes. And if you look back, it's like one thing you wish you would have known earlier. Is there like a lesson learned, a mistake you've done, or like something you wish you would have known before? Everything.
Oh, wow.
It's a difficult question.
It is. Yeah. It really, because, I mean, you know, especially in business and just the journey in boxing, and I feel like all of the things that have brought me this far were things that I needed to experience to bring me this far. Right. You know? So, I mean, when I think of in terms of building my gym, it's like, yes, definitely when it comes to negotiating my lease, when it comes to construction, negotiating those contracts, I learned so much, you know, that if I could go back and do it again, it's like, oh yeah, now I know. You know what I mean? I said my next gym I could open with my eyes closed. Right. You know, because now I know so much going in, whereas before I knew nothing. Yeah.
Where you are today, how much of it is hard work and how much is luck?
It's all hard work.
It's all hard work.
Yeah, it's all hard work.
You don't consider it a lucky day that one day you walked into that gym, you heard that noise?
No.
No?
No, that wasn't luck. Right. That was work that I needed to do.
You're the first guest of people I've interviewed who said that, and I firmly believe you. Yeah. That it was all hard work.
It's all hard work. Right. Yeah.
Hey, it's Alex again. If you like the show, I would like to ask you for 2 favors. First, tell your friends about the podcast, especially if you know that they're dreaming about doing something that they love and they're passionate about. Just send them the link. Secondly, hit that subscribe button. Also, on my website, escapeartist.fm, you can find plenty of ways to send me feedback and get in touch, and also can find out about upcoming episodes. The next episode is going to be with advertising legend Sir Martin Sorrell. He built an ad empire and is worth $500 million. The crazy thing is that he left the company that he built at the age of 73, and rather than retiring, he just started another one. Why is he not retiring? Why does he love working so much? See you next time.